I'm David Larkham. I'm not from TSA. Where are you from? I am the president of the Vermont Association of School Business Officials. We are a very serious and sober group, at least during work time. And it is unusual for us to give testimony in this way and to present our testimony before this committee. But we were moved last fall by the action of one of our members to invite our membership organization to consider a statement concerning consolidation. And that's what we released to the press yesterday. It's in that document in front of you. You've had a chance to look at it. The green paper is the press release, and the white paper behind it is the actual statement. What I will do is to just introduce this statement, which is a statement on the future governance of public school districts in Vermont. And the next speaker, who is the chair of our finance committee at VASMO, will talk a little bit more about the detail of our research. In summary, what I would say is that as business officials, we are very focused on facts. We are very practical kind of people. We try and avoid philosophical debates, and that's the way we went about our research. We decided what we would do is to look to see whether the data supported the position paper of the Vermont Superintendents Association, which talked about pre-K-12 districts, with the advantages that were assumed to be in that. And to give you just a summary conclusion, we found that there was substantial evidence to support that position of the Vermont Superintendents Association. The way in which we went about it, just as an overview, is that we looked at the difference between single district supervisory unions, often called supervisory districts, and multi-district supervisory unions. And we found some compelling data that was not totally conclusive, but was very indicative of the benefits, both in terms of cost.
Thank you. I'm Stephen Heyer. I'm the business manager for the Springfield School District, and the second half of this VASMO presentation. And our position is that we do support the formation of single district, single governing board supervisory unions based around the existing structure of supervisory unions. And we looked at this and we support it in two ways, and you see those in our statement. First of all, we looked at narrative examples, case stories of situations where the existing structure has either stood in the way of or actually prevented and discouraged there to be deficiencies and cost savings. As well, we looked at the data, and we did look at the 14 existing single district supervisory unions who currently model what our proposal would be, and compared them to the other multi-district supervisory unions. And we understand that there are many variables in per pupil costs from district to district, and it's impossible to single out one item as the root cause of those variables. So what we found leads us to believe that there will be cost savings as a result of consolidation, generally along the lines of existing supervisory unions. The existing single district supervisory unions spend less per pupil than the multi-district supervisory unions, such that if all of those multi-district unions were able to achieve that same rate of per pupil spending, there would be a savings of about $30 million. We also looked at pupil-teacher ratios, and the pupil-teacher ratio in the single district supervisory unions is greater than that of multi-districts, such that if those two were equal, there would be almost $29 million worth of savings. We also looked at central office costs, and we ran out of time.
What I want to say, first, my name is Ed Metcalfe. Up until a week ago, I was the chair of the Twin Valley School District that takes in the towns of Whitingham and Wilmington. To my knowledge, our Twin Valley School District is the only successful consolidation on the middle high school level to occur in Vermont in the last 15 years. I was the principal architect of that consolidation. In the last 6 years, we've averaged a 1.1% increase in our budget each year. for a total of 6.8% over from year 1 to year 7. The statement I want to make is I feel that the basic problem with education funding in Vermont is the dollar spent per student is being used as a measure of education equality. The current system no more meets the mandate of the Brigham decision than the previous method of funding education. It simply creates a new set of inequalities. The current system is forcing small schools to cut essential programs, while large schools are considering spending dollars on luxuries that small and medium schools have never had. The current system gives incentives for large school districts to spend more money. The figures from the Vermont Department of Education bear this out. If you look at that sheet that I've handed out, that has the colors on it. If you look at the pink column, it'll show the various size schools and the percentage of state students that they have. In other words, schools less than 100 represent 3.8% of the state students. If you go over 2 columns, you'll see that they spend 3.8% of the education funding. If you look down both those columns, you'll see that the amount of spending on each size category of school is very similar to that population in that category. I wish I could go on, and I'd love to come meet either Senate or House committees to add to this discussion.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Brinkman. I'm from the Regents Union Elementary School Board of Directors, and that's in the Addison Northwest Supervisory Union, and also part of the Unification Committee. And before we had our vote recently, we had a lot of community forums, and we learned a lot at these community forums about what people feared the most about consolidation and what they hoped to gain from that. And it was very clear that there were 3 things that they feared the most. One is the loss of local control. It's the uncertainty about any financial gain with consolidation and closing school buildings. One of the things that we learned is that many people feel their school buildings is the very heart of their community. And to close that was one of their biggest fears. So when I read over S.252, that was exactly the nightmare that our communities feared. There was no local say in how the boundaries are drawn. There's no money incentives or financial guarantee, and it threatened to close many school buildings. But on the other side of that, I'd like to promote voluntary consolidation, one that, similar to what Peter Peltz described, it closely described the approach that we took at Addison Northwest, and that we succeeded with voter approval, lots of local input, financial incentives, possibly lower tax rates, and a locally developed merger plan. It's very important that people feel they're part of this whole movement. I strongly feel that change from the top down will not succeed. People aren't part of the process, but if you give local empowerment and the common sense approach, that is a recipe for success. People do want to share resources right now and do see the common sense in getting together where it makes sense for people locally, but the top down probably will not succeed. So I encourage you to think about that. Okay?